And I'm going to start the recording because I'll forget to do that. So if you have not grabbed your materials, go ahead and snag those. And then don't forget, the party continues on the Facebook page, the KW Ignite, and that is a tool for the rest of your life. So don't feel like when you're done Ignite, you hop off. Those are tools for life. Good morning. See some familiar faces popping on from the week.
Brooke, how many have you been averaging per class? Do you know?
I think in the high 60s.
Okay, good.
This is a hard time. We've got a lot of people that are flying back home from drop off at schools and just getting into the office. So we usually see it just about now and about 5 past jump up.
Perfect.
I did own it a while back.
Yeah.
I think I'm.
Guess it wasn't for us.
I'm quick with that mute, sir. Just asked Alan. I've been muting him for years. I know, right? I actually gave him an award at the Market Center for most likely to be talking while on mute. So
Trouble is, once you unmute me,
I know.
Look out.
I know.
The floodgates open at that point, right?
The seal has been broken.
Good to know.
It's nothing but value that pours out of that man, though, so don't worry. Actually, worry, it's Friday. We never know. But it looks like our instructors both have fresh haircuts, looking fly, looking good.
Had this one for a while.
Yeah.
That's why I put the dark TV screen behind me so the glare wouldn't be as bad.
The green screen picks up on your head. You start projecting.
I'm just looking out for the participants, really the last thing they want to do is have to, change the screen, shine part all the way down. So.
I own almost $1 million a pop.
Wow. I know the other day.
We're going to have a day, huh?
There you go. But you are quick with that. That's great.
Yeah, we've got to be. We've got to be. Well, good morning, Keller Williams friends. Thank you for jumping on and spending another day with us in Ignite. We're going to get going in just a few minutes as people start to pop on. It looks like we're up to a smaller amount than we usually have. So I just want to give some people a few more minutes, but I do not want to punish the prompt. So if okay, I know, right? See, I can be coached, Alan. I can be coached. So we'll just give everybody another minute or two, and then we'll get rocking and rolling.
I like that. Punish the prompt. That's good. I like that. That's good.
What is that from, Alan? Is that a
It's a
map?
racism. It's a racism.
It's a racism? Okay. I thought so. All right, guys, I've been popping the material links and the Facebook link into the chat as we go. If you have not snagged those materials, we are on day 5. So go ahead and snag those materials. And like we were saying earlier, the party continues on the Facebook page. It's a great place to meet up with your fellow participants, ask more questions, get clarity on things, talk to some of the instructors. So you can jump on there. Also, the recordings are there. So if you want to replay and watch something from today that you may have struggled with or you want clarity on, you can jump in and play that replay. They usually go up within a few hours when the cloud recording becomes available on Zoom. All right, guys, are we ready to rock and roll, you think? All right. So good morning, everyone. I am Brooke Silva, your regional tech trainer in New England. And today I have two of my buddies here. I've got Darren and Alan, and they're going to go all over the material with you today. I am here as your chat moderator. So if you have questions and you're in a place where you can't unmute or jump on, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I'll take care of that for you. Also, if you've been on with me, you know I love my Zoomrenity acknowledgement, right? Our Zoomrenity prayer. Okay. So we understand that learning in a new time in our lives can be tricky. We understand that digital learning can cause fatigue. We want to invite you to take a moment to get present in the moment, clear your head, clear your space, and turn your video on. We understand you may have to turn your video off or on, or you may not be able to turn your video on at this moment, but we want you to stay present with us and we would love to see your faces. So if you could throw those videos on when able to, we would love to see you. And there you go, guys. You want to introduce yourselves real quick and then we can jump into the material.
Alan, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Rice, and I am going to be with you this morning with Darren, and we're looking forward to it. Just very briefly, I am involved with a couple of market centers and the founding partner of Keller Williams Realty Metropolitan in Bedford, New Hampshire. Also an owner and former OP in Andover, Mass, and also owner of KW Marco Island. And so we started our experience back in 2005, and in a very quick 16 years, where did the time go? So do a lot of training, although last year it's been mostly this way, but great to be with you. And we're looking forward to hearing from you as we go through the material today, because that's where the real benefit is with the exchange. So I'm going to invite you to really jump in, and as Brooke said at the beginning, participate, be present, and get a lot out of it. So thanks. Darren?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Darren. I am the productivity coach here at Keller Williams Legacy Partners, which is right here in Central Connecticut. I see some familiar faces from our office, so that's excellent. That's really good. So I've been the productivity coach here for about 2.5 years. I've been in real estate for a while. I actually left a successful career as a rodeo clown to become a real estate agent, and then went from there. And if you believe that, then I just actually gave you your first lesson in sales, because it's not true. So anyway, but going to be going over goal setting today. We're going to be talking about a lot of good, fun things. It's one of the essential building blocks and foundation of what you need to be successful in real estate. So if anybody has any questions, just feel free to interrupt us. Put it in the chat, anything like that. I'd rather make it more of a dialogue than a monologue. So just feel free to, stop us, let us know if there's anything we can clarify or anything that you want us to revisit, and we'd be happy to do that. All right, so Brooke, I'm actually sharing my screen then. Here,
You got it.
all right. So can everybody see the slide?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Fantastic, excellent. Okay, good. So this is exactly what successful agents do every day. You'll see it, the things that they do to grow their business and the things that they do to run their business. But as you'll see, okay, a lot of this stuff really isn't that difficult. It's fairly simple, but not easy, as we like to say, is one of our bold laws. But these are the things that, pretty much anybody can do, but not a lot of people do it for some reason. But if you take a look at successful agents, they leave clues. They leave a trail in terms of what it is that they do to be successful. And anybody can mirror exactly what it is that they do just by following the steps that you see here. So things that we're going to be focusing on today, okay? When we're looking to grow our business, right? Biggest thing that we can do, and the biggest problem solver that we have for anything that happens, is lead generation. Okay? Lead generation for buyers, for sellers, maybe for renters, if that's what you want to do, okay? But in addition to growing your business, you also have to work on the operations and the day-to-day things, okay? And in this part, what we're going to be covering is setting your goals, okay? And making sure that we're following, attending the training, and getting the coaching from all of the resources that we have within all of our market centers there. So here's a recap, or here's a actually starting point of what we're going to be covering today. So if you look at it, we're going to be talking about envisioning your big life with real estate, your big life on the personal side, okay? We're going to work on understanding what your goal is, all right? In addition to that, we're going to be taking a look at what are the activities that we need to do in order to get to our big life, lead our big life, follow our goals, get there, all right? And then we're just going to touch on, okay, what do we learn? What do we take away? What are we going to implement in our business? And what are we going to do to make sure that we put that in place and we build those successful habits? Because if we don't do that, we don't institute anything that we learn here, okay, then pretty much this is for nothing. And you can pretty much turn off the camera and take a nap at this point. That's what's going to happen. But we're going to take all this, we're going to put it together. We're going to build that foundation just as if we were building a house. And that's going to allow you to build that successful real estate career. Alan, anything you want to add?
Well, Darren, you brought up a great point, and that is a great starting point, and that is envisioning your big life. And I know that a lot of times we talk about this, and that is really centered around what your big why is. And so that really becomes the motivator. That becomes the fuel for your business engine, if you will. And so we're going to talk about some of those elements as well, because that's what really fuels your activities. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time relative to envisioning your big life and being purposeful about where that destination is. And so that's going to be a big factor and bring life to your goals.
Absolutely. And you know something too? You made a great point talking about destination, right? We have the end point in mind, the goals that we want to achieve. So with that, let's open it up and let's say, why do goals matter? Okay, whether it's personal or business, why do goals matter? Anybody want to tackle that?
It gives you something to shoot for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What else?
So Darren, I'll just jump in with another question, and that is, for those of you that have heard Gary and others for a number of years, what they will say is goals. The purpose of goals is to help us to act appropriately. What do you suppose he means by that? Act appropriately. Awkward silence, awkward silence, awkward silence.
You gotta
I'd say it's just to keep you like on track of what you're supposed to be doing, so you don't get behind or you don't miss an opportunity to meet with somebody or talk with somebody. It really just keeps you focused on what you should be doing to help grow your business.
Excellent, Haley, exactly. And so when we talk about acting appropriately, it means how you filter out all the other distractions that come at us. Everybody raise their hand that has distractions. Anybody? Okay, 4 of you do. That's great. So that's what we mean by acting appropriately. We can filter, we can keep those most important things in front of us.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing too. It's almost like if you're going on a trip, right? We know where we want to go, but do we really know how to get there? Okay, so if we have our goals and we have that end destination in mind, okay, we still got to figure out how to get there. Just like if we were planning on driving across the country, we know where we want to go, but unless we're using a map, which is old school, or we're using Waze, we wouldn't know how to get there. All right, so does anybody recognize this quote? Who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. It's from the book called The One Thing. How many people know The One Thing, or how many people have read The One Thing? All right. Anybody know who the author is of that book? Anybody want to take a guess?
Keller.
Gary Keller. Absolutely, Gary Keller. All right. And really, the one thing is just about simplifying our life. Okay. As Alan was just talking about, we have so many distractions in our life. We have so many different things that occupy our attention, occupy our time. But if we were able to actually take everything that we have going on, remove those distractions, remove the inefficiencies, remove the things that are going to take us away from what we ultimately want to do, and just simplify, 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 and focus on the things that are important, right? That's going to get us to where we want to go, and it's going to get us there faster. Okay. Alan, anything you want to add there?
Well, I think you hit a great point, Darren, and that is, simplify. And so with that simplification, really what we're encouraging all of us to do, and this is something we all practice. I mean, we practice. I had the benefit of being invited into the first One Thing training One Thing training course. And so I've had the opportunity to deliver this material for quite some time now. And really it comes down to that simplicity and making sure that you know, that we each know what is most important to us. And that's where we can help to insulate ourselves from distractions. And as Darren said, it's having that purposeful destination in mind that is clear for you, and also that is tied to that motivation, that big why. Why are we doing this? Oftentimes, that's what gets us out of bed in the morning when we have other alternatives. So that's the simplicity part of it.
And for a lot of you that are new to Keller Williams, okay, you actually have the luxury of enjoying a company that cares about you and your goals and how to get there, okay? There are there's no other real estate company out there that puts as much into their agents as Keller Williams does. And I can say that from personal experience, okay? Because the mission of Keller Williams, and I'm sure everybody's going to see this and everybody knows this, but the mission of Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving, okay? No other company has that as part of their mission statement. So this is all about building your real estate lifestyle, all right? For those of you that are thinking that, it's casual, it's a hobby, it might not be for you. The whole mission behind what we do is to make sure that you build a real estate lifestyle, okay? You can accomplish your goals and you have the tools, the processes, and the systems to get there. And that's what this is all about. All right. So take a look at this graph. What is this graph telling us right here? Anybody want to take a guess?
The more time and effort and thinking you put in, the bigger outcomes you'll get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're only limited by our thoughts, okay? And if we actually increase our thoughts and we increase our actions over that time, we put as much effort as we can into it, we're gonna have big outcomes, all right? Your outcomes are a direct result of the actions that you put in there. So if we're sitting here and we're trying to plan out and we're trying to put our goals in place, all right, it really doesn't help us if we're thinking minimally, small, whatever it is. If we're thinking very low or setting the bar very low, it's not really going to help us. We want to think big. We want to expand. We want to basically, the sky's the limit in terms of what we're going to do, right? And if we put the actions in place to help us get there, right, just end result is going to be big outcomes versus the small outcomes, all right? So when we're talking about setting our goals, right, and I get this question a lot as a productivity coach. It's like, gee, am I being too, aggressive, or am I being too pie in the sky when setting these goals? It's like, no, not at all. Not at all. Because even if you don't hit the goals that you set for yourself, think about this. You don't hit those goals, those big expansive goals, right? You're still going to have a positive outcome. You're still going to have something that you can be proud of. And you're probably most likely going to surpass even your wildest expectations, at least at that point. So it really helps us to go in and to really put as much, thought into our goals and make sure that we're putting in action to get that result. Because if we're thinking small, we're going to get a small result. But if we think big, we're going to get a big result. And our goals are just going to be that much better.
Darren, another really big advantage of bigger goals is, well, let me ask you guys, when you when you are close to reaching your end destination, when you can see the finish line, like right in front of us, what do we tend to do as human beings if we say, oh, I had this finish line established, and gosh, there it is, it's right there. I'm going to hit that. What happens to us in our heads? What do we start to do as a result of that?
Maybe you start to relax and take it easy because you think you're going to hit it so soon.
Haley, you must be looking at my notes, because you're absolutely right. That is exactly what happened. We slow down. We start to stroll over the finish line because it's right there in front of us. And so the other benefit of big goals or a finish line that is a stretch for us is that we end up going over the finish line with our noses down. We're leaning into it. We're not casually walking over the line. And so that's the other thing that big outcomes or big goals does for us. It gives us that finish line that we're constantly stretching for. And a lot of times, people say, well, I don't want to be unrealistic. Okay. But until you attempt, how do you know what is realistic? Have you ever been in a situation where you think, oh my gosh, how did I get myself in this situation? And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get through it, but because you're in it, you forge through and you actually do something that you might not have anticipated yourself capable of. And that's the benefit of big goals. So don't limit yourself, as Darren said, by thinking, oh, I want to establish a goal that I know I can hit. And that way I can say, you know what, my goal this year, I'm going to sell 3 properties no matter what. I'm going to knock myself out. Well, that's probably going to result in, maybe you're going to hit that goal, but you're leaving stuff on the table.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see here too, I mean, when you take a look at, especially, I would say when new agents come into the business, okay, a lot of times they're limited by their thinking. And some of that is driven by the class that they take. And when you take those real estate courses to get your license, they focus on the rules and the regulations, making sure you don't do this, you don't get into trouble. So what that does, that naturally puts us in a very defensive position. And our confidence level is low because we don't want to make a mistake. So rather than going out and thinking big and being aggressive, we're already limited coming out of that class. But what you want to do is you want to get out of that box. You want to basically get out of that thinking and say like, okay, if I were to live out the biggest year I could possibly have, what's that going to look like? And what actions am I going to take to get there? All right. You don't see sports coaches that basically go to their team at the beginning of the season and say, hey, let's just try not to lose all the games this year. Okay. I mean, that's very limited thinking. But if they say like, yeah, I don't care if we didn't win a game last year, this year we're going to the playoffs, right? They think big. So even if they do get, let's say maybe half the wins in the season, that's still progress. It's still a great result. It's still something that they can be proud of. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves and that we're thinking as big as possible, removing any of those limiting beliefs and charging ahead.
Darren, I'm just going to jump in on that point for just a minute because it's a good one. And that is, I don't want to make a mistake. So let's clear something up right now. Everybody ready? Everybody take a deep breath. Look in the camera. You're going to make a mistake. All right. So have we got that squared? And now let's also remember those are the best learning moments. Not that you just go out and make mistakes willy-nilly, but it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to recover. Life is a game of recovery, and so is real estate. So don't let the fear of mistakes hold you back.
Absolutely. That's a terrific point too. Terrific point. We all make mistakes. Okay. I'll even say myself, I constantly make mistakes, but if you learn from them and move on, you don't make the same mistake twice, you're going to be better off for it in the long run. So that's an excellent point. So, all right, so here we are. Now we're going to get into some interactive portion of what we have here. So if you turn to page 3 in your participant guide, okay, you're going to see basically a circle with 5 rectangles. Now in this slide right here, there's just a corner of it right there, but you're going to see if anybody has that on page 3, you've got a circle and you've got 5 rectangles around there. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some time and we're going to actually go in here. We're going to say, all right, we're going to start to focus and really envision what our big life looks like. All right. So in order for us to set our goals, we need to know what's important to us to begin with. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these 5 rectangles. Now you can use all of them. You can use some of them. It's completely up to you. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into each one of these and you're going to write about a person or a cause or something that you care about, something that's really important to you. Okay. So just to take a look at what we have here, this particular individual was concerned about a Austin Pets Alive, which is a cat habitat, looks like, and about giving money to them. Okay. It looks like their kids, getting the kids through school debt free. All right. Paying off their mortgage. Okay. For their parents, things like that. These things that are important. Okay. That either a person, cause, something like that you care about, you want to write about in there. All right. Could be anything and everything, and this is personal to you. It's what's important to you, right? And then what you want to do is you want to attach some sort of dollar amount to that. Whatever that dollar amount is that's associated with that person, that cost, whatever it may be. After you're done filling in all of that, you want to take all of those numbers, add them up, and that number is going to be in the middle. That's going to be what you're shooting towards. This is one of the goals, the thing that's important to you, the total amount of money from all of those rectangles that you're going to add in the middle there. Okay. All right. So this is basically going to be what your big life requires financially right out of the gate. Okay. And remember, don't limit yourself when it comes to this, right? If there are things that you want to do and if there are things that you care about that are important to you, go right in. Okay. Put that in there. All right. Again, we're removing the shackles. We're thinking big. We're just basically expanding our mindset here. Okay. So let's take about, let's say about 5 minutes to do that. All right. So it's 9:24, let's say 9:30. We'll do that. Okay. So take some time to fill that out. And also too, when we're done, if anybody wants to share it, we'll actually ask a couple people if they want to share it and we'll take it from there. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is it just for like our first year in real estate, or is this like the entire thing? Because I feel like mine's going to be very big.
You know something? That's completely up to you. Your time horizon probably should be your first year so that you can really get into that mindset of thinking big. Because think about this example right here. This person had 364,000 that they were shooting for. Okay. If they got to 225,000, would that be considered a bad year? Would that be considered a failure?
No, that's a still very good year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So even if you've got $1 million that are in there, you know, if you were to do 750,000, would that be a bad year? Yeah, probably not. You know, any progress you make towards that, okay, is still good. It's still good.
Okay. Thank
Does that
you.
answer your question?
Yes.
And I know you want to be writing right now, but if I could just offer another piece of guidance, and that is write this down. When the why is clear, the how will show up. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, well, gosh, I want a real big number in there, but I just don't know how that's going to happen, or how I'm going to do that. Don't limit yourself by the how. What we're putting in these squares are the whys. And as I said, when the why is clear, the how starts to reveal itself, starts to show up. So don't be limited by that, or don't be limited by, gosh, I don't know what taking care of mom and dad is going to cost. And so the great coaching response to I don't know is, well, if you did know, how much do you think it would be? So just take a shot, take your best intelligent guess, if you will, towards what that costs, and don't limit yourself by that. So that's it.
How we doing? Everybody wrapping up? Got about another minute or so. Is there anybody that's finished that would like to share maybe one of their causes, or maybe even share what their big number is in the middle?
Hi, I'll just share, not the number necessarily, but I think for me, it would be just continuing, and not to be selfish, but to be realistic, is I just switched a career. So real estate in general is new to me. So to me, it's about continuing the lifestyle that I led prior to going into real estate. So in terms of that, it's being comfortable where we were financially, in our lifestyle. So, you know, the number is what it is, but that would be the goal I'm shooting for overall.
Perfect. Okay, good. No, that's good. That's good. That's good insight right there.
Yeah.
You know, Christina,
think-
you brought up I'm sorry, Brian, you go ahead.
No, I was just going, you know, when go this, having, I'm kind of a numbers guy, so it's like, okay, we got to look at the gross, then after taxes, say, okay, what are we really looking at? And so, you know, I'm saying to myself, well, I'd like to make, you know, $100,000 this year, first year. That is from now till the next year in real estate. I know that's pretty aggressive, but you know, part of it is my giving is probably about 30% of that is some organizations I'd like to give to. So the
That's
rest
good.
of it is something that meeting personal needs and some things like that. But you know, is that realistic? Like you say, if you set a goal high enough, it might be, it's a good goal maybe, but I'm trying to be realistic too. So anyway.
Well, and I think for me, it's like, if you set that goal, whatever it is, it just, going back to that chart you had about how much work, time, and effort do you want to put into it? So for me, it's, I want to go full force. Like, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to put all in. And I think part of that's why I went with Keller Williams, because of the training and all the great things that they have to offer. But at least it gives you something to go toward. So even if you didn't make the 100 or whatever it is, you know, maybe it's still giving you something. That's your motivation, I think, at least for me.
Yeah, one of the things I just want to kind of get out there right in the beginning right now is we already had two people just talk about things that were important to them, and both of them said, well, realistically and in reality and realistically. Let's remove that completely from the discussion here, okay? Because that in and of itself is a limiting belief, right? It's like, well, I really want to be here, but realistically, I'm here. What have you just done? You know, you pretty much have undercut your goals right off the bat. You know, what's wrong with up here? Okay. And whether or not you know, who determines whether or not that's realistic? All right. So just remove that completely out of the equation. And if you're going to put something out there, just put it out there. Everybody's like, well, this, that, it doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
We're here to think big, right? And we're already limiting ourselves right out of the gate. I'll tell you right now, I mean, you go to, you know, other firms, which I have been, okay? You don't get any focus, you don't get any attention, any support, and you're left to your own device to do this. So you're wandering haphazardly trying to figure this out. You now have the roadmap on how to do this. So that limiting belief in like, well, I don't want to do this and I want to be realistic, and you know, just forget about all that. Completely eliminate that for this discussion. Think as big as you possibly can.
Hi, Darren.
Hi, Nina.
So I was actually going to say the same thing that you were saying about limiting beliefs, because I have like the same goal of hitting $100,000 in my first year. And like, I definitely, like, in the back of my head, I'm always like, oh, like, but how am I going to hit that? But at the same time, you hear that people do hit that number, if not higher, in their first year. It's all about your mindset, and just, you set that goal and you just have to believe that, like, with you working hard and continuously going at it and not giving up, you can hit it. It's possible.
Definitely. And that's good. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. It's all about engagement. All right, the more you engage and the more that you actually interact with your business and with the services and the resources and things that are offered here, the more successful you're going to be. Plain and simple. It's almost guaranteed.
You know, at the beginning, we talked about the fact that goals help us to act appropriately. And so let's just expand on that for a minute, because what goals also do, and Darren covered this, big goals require big actions. Small goals require small actions. And so whatever number is in your circle, you probably, when you put that number in there, you probably thought, and Nina just said it, you know, how am I going to do it? Here comes that how again. And that's why the importance is on the whys, those rectangles. Why is this important to you? The how will show up, I guarantee you. And we know that if we have a big goal, it's going to mean our activities are going to be big. Now, I didn't say our expenses are going to be big, because a lot of times people think, well, big goals, that means I got to spend a lot of money, you know, how am I, so forth. It's activities. It's activities that shape the outcome. So I just want you to take a look at your number in the circle. And you know the feeling that you got when you looked at that? How many got a little queasy feeling in their stomach? Just go ahead and raise your hand if you had a little internal reaction. Who hit the Pepto-Bismol when you saw that that number, right? Okay, so now look at it, and here's what I want you to do. Double it.
Yeah, honestly, when I first made my number, I was the opposite actually. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's way too small.
Good.
So I was like, I made everything bigger because I was like, no, I need to accomplish more than this.
Good. So Brian, you know, you want to hit 100,000. So let's think about what 200,000 looks like and what activities that requires. And here's the good news. If you only get 50% of the way there, how did you do?
Yeah, right.
Great point. There you go. See? That's going to help you to think bigger right there. Just double it. Easy enough.
And not have a heart attack. But anyway.
Yeah, we hope that that doesn't happen, especially on a live Zoom call like this, right?
Yeah, how do we
So-
do virtual CPR? Does anybody know how to do that?
That's a little tough. That's a little tough. They haven't invented that yet, so we'll see what happens. All right, so now that we've got our basically big life envisioned here, okay, which is essentially becomes our big whys in terms of why we're in this business to begin with, right? Now we need to actually break down our goal. We need to understand what it is about this and how do we go about achieving it. So if we take the numbers that we have, where does it all go? How do we break it down? Okay, what happens with this? You know, if we want to really get a good understanding of how our business is going to be, okay, we've got to understand how that money breaks down for us, right? Okay, so this right here is actually a great objection handler when you're dealing with, let's say, listing presentations and you're trying to actually come up with, all right, a handler for, you know, why are you charging 6%, 7%, 4%, 5%, whatever it is. What is the breakdown? Okay. So if you take a look at this and you take a look at where that commission goes. All right. So if we're really thinking in terms of how our business runs, we take that commission, we cut it in half. All right. So why do we cut that commission in half? If we're the listing agent and we actually are charging 6%, we get 6% that gross commission income. Why are we cutting that in half?
Because half goes to the other agent and
Right,
their
exactly.
company.
Half goes to the other agent, right? So right there. Now we're down, we're using 6%. Now we're down to 3%. Okay. So then again, right? Out of the 3% now that's on our side, right? Where does part of that money go? Well, if you really want to take a look at that, okay, a third of that is going to go to where?
Your market center.
Market center. Exactly. Exactly. Right. So now we're down to, let's say, 2 of the 6%. So where does another third of that go?
I'm assuming your business expenses.
Yeah, it says business expenses. What type of business expenses would it go to?
The
The
coach.
photography, any advertising for the property, everything, gas, and
Marketing,
everything.
right? Marketing is a big part of that, right? we're going to go out there and we're going to talk about our value and what it is that we bring to this transaction and why we are a full service broker, right? Biggest part of that is marketing. Now you say, well, in the seller's market, that may not be needed, but yeah, it's still there. There's still a lot of work that goes in there, right? Business expenses, big part of that. Okay. So then we're left with 1% out of that 6%, right? But even then, you're still not done with that, right? Because if you take your 1%, there's a good portion of that that'll go to taxes as well. So if we want to understand our business, right, we're not taking all of that money in and we're just depositing in our account and we're just going to let that build up. We have to have a good solid understanding of what net money goes to us, okay, so that now we can plan for, all right, if this is how much I'm getting per transaction, now I need to back into the number that I need on a grand scale that's going to net me what I need to get to fund the big life that I have there. Does that make sense? Ellen, anything you want to add in there?
Well, I want to expand on what you said, Darren, a little bit, because if we look at this dollar bill and look at our side, which is to the left, and I just want to also just make this point. Okay, 50% of it goes to the other agent. So now we're on the left-hand side of this dollar bill, and as Darren pointed out, about 30% goes to the market center. Now, I'm going to make a small philosophical point here. I want you to notice that we're talking about it as your money. See, in Keller Williams, we believe that it's all because of you. And so this is all your money. And so this section right here that is market center, cap, it's royalty, it's referral fees, that's what is here, and it's your money. You pay the market center. The market center really doesn't pay you because you're the business owner. So 30%, just write 30% right in that little block there. And then Darren pointed out that about 30% goes towards your, what I call, operational expenses. That's car phone, that's board dues, that's, okay, there's marketing and so forth, but there's E&O, there's all kinds of stuff that goes in there, about 30%. So if this left-hand side of the dollar bill represents 100% of the money that came in to you in the market center, then 30% goes to the market center, 30% goes to operational. What does that leave of 100% for net to you? Wait a minute, nobody told me math was going to be on the test today.
You threw them off with a math question.
If we start, this represents 100% of the money that came into the market center. 30% goes out to the market center, 30% for operational expenses. This is your net. What percent is that?
So we would get 60%, right? If 60% is gone.
Okay, two people talking, Carlos and Haley. What did you come up with?
Well, if 60% is gone, then you'd have 40%, correct?
Correct.
Bingo.
Now, guys, you are in a business that has a 40% net profit percentage. And do you know any other businesses that have that? Go like this. So I just want you to be aware, even though we're talking about, wow, that dollar went from bing to bang, it's a 40% net profit ratio. That's all.
And just remember though, too, okay, ideally that 40% is fantastic, but you still want to take money out of that, maybe even half of that for taxes too, right?
That's right.
So
see, I don't pay taxes, so I forgot about that, Darren. I'm glad you said that. You're right. Absolutely.
Just don't ever forget that. That's important too. And a lot of people don't realize that as well, but that's a very critical point that you want to make sure that you keep in mind as well. Okay. All right. So let's actually take a look at how do we back into the number that's going to help us to get there. Now that we know how this money is broken down, we know what our end goal is, our end game here. All right. What are we going to do in terms of finding out what this is all about? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in and we're going to actually take a look at our average sales price and our average gross commission income off of that. Okay. So how many of you actually know your average sale price in your area? If you don't, this would actually be a great question to ask a team leader, to ask a productivity coach, whoever you may, if you're in a program with one of them. If you do know it, that's great. You can use the example here of 300,000, but it all depends on your area. And I'm just trying to see, do they have this in the, yep, they actually do have this. So on page 5, okay, in your participant guide right there, it starts at the very top. All right, and this is where we start to break down what actually happens in your market. So I would say that if you know your average sales price, great. If you don't, then let's follow along with the example that they have here for 300,000. Okay. Now the average gross commission income. All right. How do we derive that? The average GCI, the average gross commission. Anybody want to take a guess?
Are you basing it on the portion that the agent, half of it?
Right, right. So if the listing, let's say the listing was 6% and they're actually being generous and they're giving 3% to both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. In this example, they're using 3%. Sometimes it's 2.5%, sometimes it's 2% if you're on the buy side. If you're the listing agent and you're giving 2.5% to one side, you keep 3.5%, but let's use 3% just as a round number for this right here, okay? So if we take the average sale price, okay, times the 3%, what does that give us?
Yeah.
$9,000 for our side of the transaction, right? Okay, so now we're going to actually start to dive into this to find out how many transactions we need to actually hit our goal here, okay?
Hey, Darren, can I just make one other suggestion? I'm sorry to keep
Jump in.
jumping in here, but I would invite you guys to actually take out your abacuses. That's code for a phone. And even though we're supplying the answers, I want you to do the calculation, because when you start to use your specific number, it's going to become more meaningful to you, and you're going to remember the steps. So take out your, like I say, your abacus and make sure you know the keystrokes.
While you guys are on this, can I just ask a quick question?
No.
Realty terms, if they say total GCI, do they mean the total commission, like the 6% in this case? Or are they meaning your portion? Got it. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, just your portion. We only care about our side of the transaction.
Okay.
Okay, and that's all we're working with.
Got it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where can I get the handouts?
There's actually materials in the chat. They're also on the Facebook page as well. I don't know if the chat has been refreshed.
I'll re-pop them up for you. If you don't have the link, I'll get that link back up.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we're going to go in, we're going to start to calculate, okay, what gets taken out, what we're left with, how many transactions that's ultimately going to relate to, okay? So in the second part, the boxes that you have there, it's titled your market center fees. All right, so what we want to do is we want to take a look at, all right, what's the company dollar for the market center? All right, so how many of you know what your split is as a solo agent with your market center? All right, Christina, you want to share that?
Well, mine, I do a productivity coach, so,
Okay.
but otherwise it would be 67.
Okay,
That makes sense.
well, 67.
Well, 64, sorry, 64, so 36, 64, but then I do my productivity coach on top of that.
All right, but what portion goes to actually to the market center? So is that 60?
36.
36, okay.
Total, yep.
Yep, then that's what you want to use. Or if you're, say, 80-20, 80 to you, 20% to your market center, the 20% would go in here. Okay, which half of that goes to the market center?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the cap on that? Everybody know their market center cap?
Mhm.
We're talking, Darren, the specific dollar amount now, whether it's
Yes.
22, 28, 40, 47, what? Yeah.
Yes. So like in our particular market center, okay, a solo agent split, seasoned agent is 80-20 with a $24,000 cap, okay? So the 20% that goes to the market center will only go as high as 24,000 in any given year. Okay, so we want to populate that. Now the franchise royalty, okay, this is fixed for everyone across the board. So no matter where you are, it's going to be the same. So it's 6%. So what we want to do is we want to put in, okay, $3,000 because for everyone, yes, it's 6%, but you'll never pay more than $3,000 in any given fiscal year to the franchise royalty, okay? So this is the portion that comes out that goes to the market center and goes to the royalty fee, okay, for the international company. All right. Everybody have this so far? Everybody good? All right. So now we're really going to get into some really good numbers. All right. So let's take a look at breaking down what we have here. So number one, in line A, we're going to put in what our net income goal is. All right. What is it that we want to do this year? Is it 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? You know, what do you have for this year? What's your goal? Okay, your net income goal.
Brian, we did this for you because we knew you wanted to make 100,000, so that's why we put that in.
You'd be surprised that typically that's the standard answer for new agents coming in. I want to make 100,000 in the first year. So
Thanks, Chris. This saved me a lot of time. We could do this right now, and they're almost at. And once again, you said 200, so I'm sure I can just double everything.
That's
too,
right.
So
Now you
you're
know
gonna
how
be
to
really-
scale.
You're going to make it easy for me this year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
you'll double the net income goal, but the other things may remain the same. So, all right, in line B, okay, the number that we just calculated, the total number for the market center fees goes right in there. So this example, they use 30,000, but whatever you had, at least in the upper portion right there for your market center fees, goes in line B. All right. C, right, is going to be business expenses. All right. How much are you actually going to basically pay out for your business? Now, this can include pretty much everything and anything, membership fees, MLS fees, things like that. If you have a service package that you pay for every year, things like that, okay? Just come up with a rough number. Now, granted, as a new agent, you want to keep this as minimal as possible, okay? However, there are certain things that you just need to pay, okay?
Darren, is there a percentage? I mean, for those of us that are just starting out, I may not have any idea what I should expect for business expenses. What kind of guideline or percentage of some number might we use?
You know, it depends because I would say that, you know, every area, every region is different. But if you want to estimate maybe 30%, something like that, I think that would be good. 25 to 30% might be good.
30% of
your net income.
Great.
Yeah, 30%.
So for those of you that are kind of guessing or not know or wondering, then you know you can use that guideline, 30-ish%
right
of net to represent your business expenses, and then you're going to do more work on this. So that's going to start to be more you know, obvious to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you want to make sure that you're always analyzing your business. You know, one thing that's popular is to basically say you've got Financial Friday, where you spend an hour or two going into your business and saying like, okay, what are my expenses for the week? What do I have coming in? Planning things out, getting an idea of, okay, you know, is there anywhere that maybe I can cut expenses? Maybe I've got some, you know, inefficiencies I can basically take care of. Or listen, I know I just had a closing. All right, I've got some things that are coming up. I'm planning out what my financial pipeline looks like. So you want to be basically monitoring this on a regular basis, at least once a week.
Darren, I have a quick question.
Okay.
So I know the market cap, depending on what your split is, would be 24,000, and the royalty franchise is 3,000. How did you get 30,000 for company dollar and royalty cap?
Well, for this particular example, what they used is their cap was 27,000. Okay, their market.
Okay, because that's what I got.
Yep. Okay. Yep, that's fine. And
so
then,
that would be the company dollar and royalty cap on line B.
Yes, you got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. So now we're going to take line A, B, and C. We're going to add them all together. All right. And this is basically going to give us, okay, what our total gross commission income needs to be in order for us to get to line A. So we've got to add back the company dollar, the royalty cap, the business expenses, because this is going to give us a gross number that will allow us to get to our net number. Okay. Now we're going to go back, and on line E, we're going to take what our average gross commission income was, which we just calculated at the very top there. We get the average sales price and the average commission, average GCI. We're going to put that in here. Now, for the last line, all we do is we take line D, divide it by line E, and this gives us what our transaction goal is for the year. So in order for us to net 100,000 based on our market and based on the expenses and company dollar and things like this, we're going to have to do 20 transactions for the year. And that will get us approximately to our net income goal. So now we've got clarity, right? We have the end game, the goal right there, and we've got almost our roadmap right here telling us what we need to do in order to get there. Instead of flying blind and just coming in and figuring out what's going on and end of the year being disappointed because we didn't know what was going on the entire year, now we actually have a game plan. We've got something that we can work with here, right? If I told you that you had to do 20 transactions this year, okay, that's great. What does that break down to per month? What does that break down to per week? Things like that. Now I've got things that I can work with, and we're going to go into that further as well. Any questions on this part right here?
I have a question. How many of you have a severe case of butterflies in your stomach right now based upon 20 transactions? Go ahead and raise your hand or put up your favorite emoji. Anybody else besides me having a herd of butterflies? Okay. So
I'm having a couple.
okay. So one of the things that I just want to make a point of, and that is, you know, as Darren said, now you have a transaction goal for the year. That's 20. And at some point, at a point today, we're gonna show you what that means and the impact that that has on weekly activities, because we already said that when the why is clear, the how becomes present. And so we're gonna break that down further. So I just don't want you to get too fluttery, because you're going to see how it boils down and candidly how doable this is. So
Yeah, don't let this overwhelm you. Alan is 100% right there. Don't let this overwhelm you, right? This is your goal still. Remember, this is your goal. This is where you want to be. And remember, you know, take a look at it. How many of you would be happy with half of what you have there too, right? Still a great accomplishment right there. All right, so before we actually get into the part where we're going to set our goals in command, why don't we take a 5 minute or 10 minute? Does it matter?
Let's do 10. Let's do 10.
Okay.
Everybody get up, stretch, grab some more water, some coffee, a Red Bull, whatever you need. Let's get some energy before we jump into the next section.
That's great. That's good. So why don't we basically come back at about 8 after? Is that good?
Sounds great. And don't forget, guys, shut your video off while you walk away and then come on back and throw those videos on.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back here at 10 after, or 8 after 10, excuse me.
All right, I see people slowly coming back as the two instructors disappeared for a second. So as everybody's coming back, they decided to just walk away. Did everybody get a nice warm beverage or a cold beverage? So I'm double fisting. I have an iced coffee in this mug and I have a hot coffee in this mug because I want the iced coffee, but my hands are cold. So I decided to get hot coffee. Best of both
You're
worlds.
gonna be energized today, huh?
Oh boy, that's how I live, sir. That's how I live.
Good for you.
I thought the background was real.
Isn't that great? So you can get those in Designs in Command. There's a whole bunch you can snag. And you've always got to watch with me whenever I'm in trainings because I do add all kinds of little fun Easter eggs to my backgrounds. Like if you look really hard, you'll see me as a
Star
Jedi.
Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask
didn't
too
realize.
what the dog is, the lab.
So labs is how we do things at Keller Williams when we are learning products. Besides being your regional tech trainer, I'm also a labs advisor and I get to work on the national level with agents and market centers all across to learn how they're learning in different patterns and you know, people who develop products may think it's intuitive. So what we do is we put it out to you guys, isn't intuitive, and then we bring all that feedback back. So it's kind of a way of life here at KW. It doesn't stand for anything. We just like dogs.
I like dogs too.
I do. It was always a good day when there were puppies in the market center. And then I heard a few weeks ago, my own market center had baby goats in it. They had baby goats running around the market center. Don't tell Alan that.
Oh boy.
Welcome to New Hampshire.
Right? And welcome back, everyone.
All right. So we are actually going to jump into Command and we're going to show you how to go in and put in your goals. But at first, Alan, I think, wants to add something to what we were just talking about here, an important point.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Do you mind if I just grab the screen for a minute?
Yeah,
Just
let me actually
thank you.
stop sharing it. Go right ahead. Jump right in.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's arts and crafts time.
Okay, so here's what I want to do with you guys. I want you to, on a piece of paper, on the same piece of paper on your notes, I want you to do this with me. Because here's the thing about our business. It all comes down to appointments. So we've got this number 20. And I'm just gonna, I don't have my stylus with me today, so I'm gonna try to make this work. 20 transactions equals 100,000. All right, see what an art major I was? So 20 transactions equals 100. Now, 10 of those transactions, go ahead and write this down. 10 of those transactions are going to be listings sold, LS. 10 of those transactions are going to be buyers bought. Everybody with me? And now we're going to get to appointments, because appointments are things that you can control. You have the ability, the capability of determining how many appointments you have. So I've got 10 listings sold and 10 buyers buying that I represented. And so now we know the conversion ratio is about 80%. That is, when I take 10 listings, about 8 are going to sell. Maybe a little more, maybe a little, but let's just use it. Same thing on the buyer side. When I have, if I do 10 buyer contracts, buyer transactions, if I have, 10 buyer agent contracts, about 8 are actually gonna do a transaction. So it's 80%. Now, here's what we're gonna do. So in order for me to sell 10 listings on an 80% conversion ratio, how many listings do I need to take? I got to take some listings in order for 10 of them to sell. At a minimum, how many do I have to take?
10.
Exactly, Carlos, you're with me. But that would be 100% conversion ratio. We said it was 80%. So if I take 10 and I divide it by 0.8, I come up with, I have to take 13 listings. You can go ahead and do that on your Abacus. It ends up coming up 12 and a half listings, but I don't know what a half listing is. Maybe it's a small condo, but it's, we're going to do in full numbers. So 13 listings taken. And now look, it's the same on the other side. That means I got to take 13 buyer agency representation contracts. 13 and 13. Everybody's stomach getting really fluttery right now? I hope so. So that's how many listings you need to take. That's how many buyers you need to connect up with. Now we're going to get to appointments. In order for me to take 13 listings taken, I need some appointments. Carlos, how many listing appointments do I need to go on in order to get 13 listings taken?
13.
At least 13. And that would be at 100%. But we're going to use 80% again. So go ahead and put 13 in your Abacus and divide that by 0.8. And what do you get when you do that? That's okay. I've got nothing else to do today, so I'll wait. What do you
You
get?
should show them your Dick Tracy calculator. Do you have that dusty crusty thing while they're calculating on their phones?
That's at halftime.
Okay, I'm sorry.
interrupt.
I'm sorry.
How many listing appointments did you come up with?
Just over 16.
Just over 16. So does that mean, like, can we round it up? Always round up.
17.
What
Yeah.
about on the buyer side? Buyer appointments. What's 13 divided by 0.8? Oh, well, we just did that.
17.
It's the same 17. Okay. Now, that means appointments. I need 34 appointments. You need 34 appointments. That means how many weeks are there in the year?
52.
This year, yes, even after COVID, it's going to be 52. So that means, look, let's do this. Let's eliminate some weeks. There are going to be, first of all, there are some weeks that are not going to be conducive to appointments. You're not taking any appointments between Christmas and New Year's. You're not taking any you're not going on any appointments 4th of July week or Thanksgiving week. Let's just start ticking these off to represent not appointment weeks that aren't going to happen. You're going to take 4 or 5 weeks of vacation. You're going to go to family reunion for a week. You're going to go to mega camp for a week. You're going to have leprosy and not be able to go on appointments 2 or 3 weeks, right? So when we boil all that down, I say our appointment year has 40 weeks. We're going to remove 12 weeks from the equation and figure you've got 40 weeks to make 34 appointments. Now this is, you're not going to need your calculator for this. How many appointments does that mean you need a week in 40 weeks?
At least one.
At least one.
One.
Yeah.
One appointment a week. When you get one appointment a week in 40 weeks, and we've already factored in the fact that you're not getting everything on every appointment, we've already figured in 20% at each level. That means that result is going to show up when you have one appointment a week. Just one. Gang, you can get one appointment a week. That's one engagement, two-way conversation with somebody who either wants to sell their home or wants to buy a home. You can do that. And what does it end up being for you for net income?
100,000.
100,000. One appointment equals 100,000. Now here's my last gig on this. What if you really went crazy? Come on now, take off your limited beliefs. What if you really went crazy and you did 2 appointments a week? What would happen to your income?
Double it.
Doubles.
Okay, so I just want you to be aware that this, when we start talking about $100,000, $200,000, that seems like such a big number. But when we look at it in terms of what the activity that you can do and you have control over and what is required, I'm telling you right now, if I told you, everybody today, you call me, and if you get an appointment today for next week or whatever, I'll give you, I'm just saying I might do this. I'm going to give you $1,000. How many of you can go out today and get one appointment today? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, take a picture, because I'm going to take a picture of everyone with their hands up, because we're going to call you and see how it went. And you'll do that for $1,000. How much are you going to get when that thing closes?
Couple of thousand.
Yeah, like $3,000.
$3,000.
So you're really serious about giving us the 1,000?
You knew this was going to happen, Alan. You knew that. You said that. You knew it was going to happen.
Because I'll get an appointment today.
Sure. I'll tell you what, I'll give you the 1,000 if you give me the difference when it closes.
It's a deal.
So all I'm saying, gang, is look, let's make this very doable, because it is one appointment a week, and not every week, just 40, no, actually 34 weeks. Okay, you can tell I get excited about this because it makes me realize that for you, it is so doable. That's it. Thanks for the time.
And speaking of what Alan was going through, we're actually going to put pen to paper just like he did here, and we're going to show you how to go into command and how you can come up with your own numbers. Now, these numbers, okay, are going to be mind-blowing right off the bat, but we're going to show you how to look at these so that it gives you an accurate depiction of what you can do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis in order to achieve your goals. And all we're doing is we're chunking down your big number into doable, bite-sized portions that you can do each and every week. So just what Alan talked about, we're all going to put pen to paper and we're going to show you how to do this. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you command and where you can go in and calculate your own personal number off of this. Now, this may seem a little quick going through this, and we're doing it for time purposes. However, this recording will be done by probably later on today, and you can go back and revisit this for your portion of how to do this. But I'm going to walk you through how to go into command and take what Alan just showed you, okay, and come up with your own numbers so that you know what you need to do, okay? Can everybody see the command screen right here? We're good? Okay. So when you, okay, we're good? All right, perfect. So when you first go into command on the home screen, all right, you're going to see in the upper left-hand corner, the red KW. If you click on that, it opens up the applets on the left-hand side, which are basically all the menu items that you have here. We're going to go under reports. All right, when we click on reports, we're going to get a host of different things that we want here, but obviously today we're working on goals. Okay, so if we click on goals up top, this is going to allow us to go in and calculate exactly what our goals should be. All right. Now, you'll see in this upper portion right here, we basically have a pipeline of business in real estate. We go from leads to contacts to appointments to agreements to under contract to close. So this is basically the life cycle of a real estate transaction. Now, you're going to see that there's some awfully big numbers that are in here. Do not get intimidated by that. We're going to show you what all of this means, okay? But for a lot of you, when you go in the first time, you won't have any of this populated because you haven't put your goals in. We're going to show you how to input this information so that you can actually build your business around this, all right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go under goal settings. Just make sure that we're on 2021 goals, and we're going to go under goal settings. Now, this is actually going to take you to a guide that's going to walk you through everything that you need to know. So of course, we want to jump in. We want to get started here. Click on get started. We're now going to formulate, okay, basically our big life and what it's going to take for us to get there. So on the right-hand side, number one, under set goals, okay, you're going to see that right here, what year are you setting your goals for? And it's obviously this year, okay, 2021. And again, what's your annual profit goal? And for any of these boxes that we're putting in here, there's a little I in a circle next to it. If you just hover over that, That's going to tell you exactly what they mean by each one of these boxes. So for an annual profit goal, it's basically the amount of money that we want to make, okay, before taxes are taken out, all right? What's the amount of money we want to make? We just did this exercise in our participant book right there, all right? So that's easy for us to put in there. Now, this breaks down our business expenses a little bit further than what we had in there and classifies them a little bit differently, okay? So on the next line, we have expenses and we have cost of sales. So these are the things that are actually going to come out of our business, but each one means something different. And again, if we hover over the little I next to them, it's going to tell us what this is. So for expenses, these are things that we need to pay whether or not we close business. All right. So what are some things that we pay on a regular basis that we're going to have to pay even if we don't close any deals? Anybody want to throw out some examples?
MLS listings fee.
Yep, MLS.
Your dues, your market center dues.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Absolutely. Those are all great things. How about license renewal, things like that? All right. So in here, what's that? What else?
Phone bill.
Phone bill. Yeah, if it's tied to your business, absolutely. If it's a business phone, sure, absolutely. You know, sometimes you get into some gray areas and it all depends on somebody with an accounting degree, and those people are much smarter than me. So if that falls under that, then that's good. That's perfect. But expenses, we're going to pay these no matter what. So we try to minimize these, especially in the beginning. So I'm estimating here $5,000. All right, $5,000 is what we're going to pay in a year for our business expenses. Okay. Now the cost of sales. Okay, cost of sales are things that we pay only when we close a deal. So what are some things that come out of our closings when we have one? Anybody want to list some things?
Market center.
Jackson fee, right?
The market center split, is that what the
Yeah.
market center split? Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. We actually just broke this down in the example that we did on paper, right? Okay, so the royalty and the market center split, right? Now in the example that we used there, that was 27,000 plus 3,000, so it was 30,000, all right? In our particular market center, it's $24,000 cap with a 3,000 royalty. So for us, it's 27,000, okay? So the combination of the two of these, okay, is about, let's say, $32,000, all right? So if you take a look at the little pie chart that we have here, all right, this is telling you that when we talked earlier about what should you estimate for your business expenses, which are made up of the expenses that we have here and the cost of sales, right, roughly, you're looking at probably about 30%, which is what we talked about there, okay? So as we're building in, we're putting in these numbers, you're going to see that it's giving us our basically projected gross commission income as we start to compile what we're doing. So essentially we're backing into our gross number so that we can get to our net number, right? Now we've got our business makeup, right? Are we going to focus more on listings than buyers? Is it going to be an even split? What do we want to do? So if we adjust one, let's say that we want to do 70% listings, then we've got to change the buyers to 30%, all right? And right now, let's not worry about leases at this point, okay? We're just focusing on those buying and selling relationships that we have here. And then underneath that, we've got our average commission per transaction, okay? So for listings and buyers, I just estimated that to be 5,000, all right? But we've already talked about this, average commission in your market center. What is that? If you don't know, talk to somebody in leadership, your team leader, productivity coach, things like that. They may be able to tell you what is the average commission in your region, okay? So what we're doing is we're building the financial side of our goals here. We've already talked about that. We put it in our workbook, and now we're building it into Command. But why are we putting all these numbers into Command? Anybody want to take a guess at that?
For accountability?
Accountability? Sure, absolutely. I think the bigger thing is that Command is based on artificial intelligence. It's constantly learning our business, all right? If we don't put our goals in, how can it tell us whether or not we're doing what we should be doing in order to hit our goals, right? If we put our goals in there, we're basically telling the system like, look, this is where I want to be. Let's take a look at my activities, make sure that I'm getting there. So you're always getting that feedback. When you go into your homepage, it's going to tell you where you are in relation to your goals. We're going to talk about that in a second, all right? So it's important that we put this in here. And for me, in my coaching program, this is the first thing we do. We set up our time blocking schedule, and then we immediately go into our goals because we want to know, okay, what is it that you want to do with your business? If we know what our end result is, we can craft the plan on how to get there. So this is essential. This is important. So once we're done with this, we click on next. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into something that basically plays off of what Alan was just talking about right here. We have conversion rates. All right. Anybody want to take a guess as to what the conversion rates are? What that means?
So basically the amount of appointments you have converted to, how many you actually get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more of like a probability to go from one step in the process or in the pipeline to the next. So we start off with leads. All right, leads are people that we haven't talked to yet. Let's say that if you've got a friend of yours and says, hey, I've got a cousin and he's looking to sell his house. Can you reach out to him? Yeah, absolutely, I will. Until you have that real estate conversation with that lead, okay, you don't know where they are in the real estate process. So they remain a lead. Once we have that conversation with them, then they become a contact. So if 5% of our leads become contacts, that just means that if we reached out to 100 people, we probably would have a conversation with about 5 of them. All right. Now, you may or may not, adjust that level up or down based on what you think and what your experience is. But the more that you actually reach out and talk to people, okay, the more that you're going to have a solid number on which to base your conversion ratios on. Okay. And on the right-hand side right here, and it's not showing up on my screen, I just moved over, you'll see that we can go in and we can adjust all of the conversion rates here if we wanted the conversion ratios. But if we're taking a look at this funnel, all right, we're saying on average, 5% of the leads become contacts. 5% of the contacts we're actually able to set an appointment with. Now, we all know that there are people that don't follow up on their appointments, okay? There are clients that we say, hey, we'll meet you on Monday. They cancel at the last minute, all right? So what we're saying is from the appointments that we set to the appointments that we actually keep, about 3/4 of them, 75% of them, will actually meet with them, right? And from there, from the people that we do meet with, about maybe 75% of them or 3/4 of them will actually get them to sign agreements, right? And from there, about 85% of the agreements that we have will go under contract, and we're hoping that 90% of them actually close, all right? And again, these numbers are just based on what they've seen and what has been shown to happen, okay, for agents, especially in their first year. You may know what your numbers are if you've been in the business for a while, or what's going to happen is as you start to do your business and as you start to populate command, put your activities and your opportunities and things in there, it's going to start to calculate your conversion ratios for you. And you're going to actually see, okay, if you're a little short on setting appointments, all right, you're going to be able to see, all right, how many people do I need to reach out to, have that conversation with in order for me to set that appointment. So now you've got actually hard numbers and you've got hard data to work with at this point. Okay. Any questions on this at all? Coincides nicely with what Alan was just showing you on his little whiteboard there.
And Darren, I also, we talked about this, but I also just want to point out that the benefit of tracking these numbers is it's also feedback to you about your value proposition. So let's just look here where we've said, okay, we're gonna have a certain amount of appointments that we have, and then 85%, if I go on 10 appointments, I should get about 8.5 agreements. Now, if I go on an appointment or a series of appointments and I'm under that 85%, that's actually feedback for you. That means that, there was not quite the connection. And so are we clear enough about our value proposition? Did I provide enough market information? So it's not just numbers for numbers' sake, it's numbers for skill improvement sake. That's why it's evidence about how we are with consumers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got everything right there. It's when you have the numbers in front of you, it's hard to argue with that, right? But it does give you the feedback. That's the best feedback that you can get. So if we click save and continue, all right, this now gives us a summary of what we've gone through. So we've got our little circle pie chart right here, okay, of our gross commission income, what our conversion rates are, okay, what our business makeup is, and our average commission. So now we click on what's next. Well, we want to go and we want to view our goals now. So if I click on view my goals, it takes us back to the goal screen, which has the pipeline of our business. Okay. So you'll see here that for the remainder of this year, All right. I just have to reach out to about 20,000 people, have conversations with 1,000 of them, set 50 appointments, go on 37 appointments, get 28 agreements, get 24 under contract, and close 21 of them just before the end of the year, right? No big deal, right? We're all good with that, right? You can find 20,000 people to reach out to, right? Right? How many people have you just had a heart attack by seeing that number, right? Okay. There are ways to actually adjust this. This is talking about an entire year, okay? We're talking about, well, in this instance, we're talking about for the remainder of 2021 when we put it in here. But you'll see at the bottom, it says annual goal, annual goal. Now, all we want to do is we want to break this down and say like, okay, let's chunk this down and let's make it a more reasonable number. So if we click on this year, and we make it this month, we're basically taking those numbers and we're taking a look at what's left in the year. We're saying, okay, if we wanted to do this on a monthly basis, what would my numbers look like? So now instead of 20,000, it's 2,500. Take that as what you want. Maybe a lot, may not be. It's much smaller, right? I have to talk to 119 people, set 6 appointments, go on 5 appointments, get 4 agreements, get 3 of those under contract, and then have 3 closings per month. Does that seem a little bit more reasonable? I could probably work with that, right? That's something that is manageable. But what if I want to take this further? What if I want to say like, all right, well, what do I need to do on a weekly basis? So what if I took those leads right there, the monthly leads, 2,500, let's say, all right? And I divide that by what? What number should I divide that by if I want to get a monthly number or weekly number, excuse me?
4.
That's right, Brooke.
4.
4. Why? Why would we do that?
The number of weeks in the month.
Exactly. So now instead of 2,500 leads, it's 620 leads a week. If I put 5, 6, 7 days into my real estate business, okay, so let's just divide that by 5. So that's 124 people a day that I need to reach out to. I take 119, I divide that by 4. All right, that's 30. If I divide that by 5, that's basically 6 conversations a day. Can I do 6 conversations a day? Sure, I think so. Absolutely. You know, and I could still get a nap in if I wanted to, right? Now, appointment set, 6 appointments. So that works out to be about 2 a week. If I set 2 appointments a week, which is what Alan was just talking about, right? If we took our goal and we doubled it, we could do that, right? And if I keep at least 1 to 2 a week, that's great. If I sign 1 agreement a week, think about that, 1 agreement a week. And if I have at least a closing a week, think about that. What does that closing a week equate to? That's a paycheck, right? Every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it ends up being. So now, for my purposes, I've got numbers that I can work with. And let's take the leads and the contacts out of the equation right now, okay? Sometimes those are arbitrary numbers. Let's stick to the whiteboard scenario that Alan just had, right? If we know the appointments that we need per week, that's going to help us to really dial into our business, right? We're going to know if I've got to get 1 appointment a week, 2 appointments a week, whatever it is, what am I going to do to get those appointments? Now I know exactly what I need to be doing on a day in and day out basis, right? As new agents, we go in and we say, okay, I need appointments. What activities am I going to do to get me to that point? But it tells me right here. It tells me my business right here. It's hard to argue with the numbers, right? We know they're right there. And the leads and the contacts, let's not get overwhelmed by that. Let's focus on the appointments. Those are the most important things. Without appointments, we don't have anything else in the pipeline, right? And the great thing about Command is the numbers that you put in here actually will show up on your homepage. So every day when you're logging in to see what you need to do for activities and what's going on there, you're going to see on your homepage, all right, that there are the goals. And it's just basically in a summarized format for you right here. Right in the front. I could do year to date, I could do month to date. It's going to tell me right here where I am in relation to that. So every day I go in, I've got the reminder, I've got basically my measurement function right there, and this is going to tell me how I'm doing on my business. All right. So what do we have? What questions do we have?
Darren, I have a question. What did you say about, just if you can refresh our memory about conversations per day? What was our, how did that calculate out to? I think you said.
Okay, so when we go back into our goals, and what we want to do is we want to take a look at our contact. Now, contacts are where we're having the real estate conversations. So if we take a look at contacts, and let's break this down again for the month. Okay, 119 for the month, which worked out to be 30 a week, right?
Yeah.
So we've got 30 a week, and let's say we put in 5 days in our real estate business. Okay, that's 6 conversations a day.
Okay.
Conversations a day to get us that one appointment.
So everybody write a 6 down on your paper. 6 conversations a day. Now, how many hours does it take to have 6 conversations? How many conversations can you have in an hour? Ish. Well, if you're talking with Brooke, it's probably 1 an hour. But if you're talking with others,
3 to 4.
yeah. And so to me, you know, when we talk about 6 conversations, see, I think I just only because I've been doing this since the end of the Civil War. And so I know that I can make about 15 to 18 contacts an hour, and I can have about 5 to 6 conversations an hour. And so what that means is that's an hour. It's probably, you know, a couple of hours per day of reaching out. And that's why, you know, we say lead generation is about a 3-hour commitment. And so now we know that it's not, these numbers aren't big when we start to break them down to doable steps. And so that ends up being 6 conversations a day. I know you can have 6 conversations a day. I know that.
Think about this. If you came into the business and I said, all right, between now and the end of the year, I want you to talk to 2,500 people, have real estate conversations with 2,500 people, right? You know, after you punch me in the mouth, you'd say like, yeah, you know, that's impossible. But if we said, have 6 conversations a day, how does that change the perspective there? Makes it a lot easier, right? Now you've got a number to work with. Now you've got something like, okay, that's doable, right? Ellen just said, doable. 3 hours a day? Sure, you can have 5 or 6 conversations, minimum, right?
And by the way, for those of you that are thinking, okay, I want to have a conversation with them, but they don't want to have a conversation with me. Here's what I want you to remember. Everybody either owns real estate or wants to. Everybody wants to talk about real estate. Would you agree with me? All right, one of you would. Anybody else want to agree with me? Yeah, everybody, I mean, everybody wants to talk about real estate. So don't go into it thinking, oh my God, I mean, I want to talk, but they don't want to listen. Everybody wants to know what's cooking.
And that's the thing too, is that we're talking about people you know and people that you don't know. So if you're out there and you've got a Keller Williams name tag, or you've got your app handy on your phone, share that. That's your digital business card right there. You've got business cards physically themselves, right? And you don't always have to open up with real estate and say, hey, I'm a realtor, use me. We're not talking about that. It's just, it comes up in conversation. If you ask people what they do for a living, what are they going to do? They're going to ask you what you do for a living, and it's a great time to bring that up, right? And if people say like, hey, you know, I know you're a realtor. Hey, how's the market going? That depends. Are you a buyer or a seller? Let's open up the conversation. Let's talk about why are you asking? You know, go down that path. But have those conversations. You know, you're standing in line at the grocery store. You overhear somebody talking about real estate. You're going to pick up on these things now, right? Your antenna goes up and like, I can help that person. And these are the things that you want to do. So you want to build that wall around the people you know, and you want to start adding people that you don't know in there so that you can get your database to be as big as you want it to be. It's going to be great when you get to the point where you've got whatever that number is, 800, 1,000 people in there, and all it is just referral business, referral business, referral business.
You know, Darren, you brought up something that reminds me. I'm just going to tell you a very quick story. When I was a much younger person, I ran a company, a real estate company, and that was our how, shopping. And so one day a week, we all put on our name badges. We all had a little factoid about the real estate market, and we went across the street to Shaw's, and I said to the agents, okay, we're going to be over there for 2 hours. Now, for the first hour, you walk around, and if you have to do your shopping, just go ahead and get it done. Now, if you don't have to do your shopping, just go ahead and walk around and pretend like you're doing your shopping for the first hour. And then the second hour, so that we won't Mr. Shaw's doesn't get mad at us, I want you to put everything back for the second hour and walk around. And when you're doing that, be aware of the opportunity to talk with people and the number of times people would stop us and say, hey, I noticed you were in real estate. What's cooking with the market? And it gave us an opportunity to have that conversation. So do you see how the how becomes evident when we have clarity about the why? Great.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get back into it here. All right. So we have actually set our goals in command, and we're going to do that. Okay. So now it's about coming up with the right activities. What are we going to do to hit those numbers? Now, I don't want to press upon everybody that all it is about numbers. And did you hit your numbers? And did you do your numbers? There's more to it than that. Okay. It's not about the numerical value. It's about making sure that we have something to measure our progress by, right? If we don't have that, how are we going to know how we're doing? These numbers give us a good roadmap, a good guide in terms of how close we are to our goal, right? Because our outcomes are actually driven by the actions that we take. So when you take a look at setting up your business, it's the actions that are going to drive the results. Your actions are the most important things. If you take those actions, you put in that process, you do the things that you need to do, you will get those results, right? So don't focus so much on the numbers and focus on the activities and the actions that you're going to use to help you to get to those numbers. Okay. Anybody ever hear of the 80-20 principle at all? Anybody know who it was named after?
I'm not sure who it was named after, but
Oh, it's right there on your wall.
yeah.
Isn't it
Go ahead.
like 20% of your actions deliver 80% of your results, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, perfect. And that's the thing too, is it's the big rocks, the big activities. All right, so 20%, those are the big activities that are going to drive 80% of your results. So that's exactly it. And it was named after Pareto's principle. That's one way to do it. All right. So it was basically started a while ago where there was I believe a professor who was in a class that talked about, he held a glass jar and he said, all right, he's got some big rocks. He put the big rocks in there. He said, all right, is the jar full? Everybody said, well, yeah, it is. Okay. All right. So he took some small rocks and he put them in there and they filled up part of the open space. He goes, is the jar full now? And everybody said, yes. It's like, all right, we'll see. He took some sand, put some sand in there. Is the jar full now? Everybody's like, yeah, it should be full at this point. Took some water, put it in there. Okay. Is the jar full now? And yes, by that point, every conceivable space in there was taken up. All right. Now, if he'd reversed the process and put the water in first, would he have room for anything else? No, of course not. So by putting in the big stuff, focusing on big rocks, putting those in first, doing that, okay, it allowed us to get everything else done. But what we're trying to say is 20% of what you do is going to be the most important thing. That's what's going to drive your business. So if you focus on those big rocks, those big things, because that's what's going to take up the majority of the space right there, those are the things that are going to drive your business. Those are the activities that are going to be most important to everything that you do. It's a matter of looking at the deep revenue generating work versus the shallow administrative work. So if you're caught up every day, okay, in focusing on how many staples you have for your stapler and if your paper clips are organized and if the room is set up in a certain way with feng shui and all that stuff, is that generating any money for you? No, not revenue generating, right? But if you know in the back of your mind that right now, I don't have appointments, I don't have business, I don't have contracts, and I need to set appointments, and I spend that 3 hours, what I'm doing, focusing on lead generation, is that revenue generating work, right? So we're talking about 3 hours out of like an 8-10 hour day dedicated to lead gen. But that is the most important time that you're going to spend and the biggest part of your day that's going to generate the biggest results, right? Focus on the things that matter, all right? There's trivial or there's important items. And you've got to determine what you're going to focus on. You want to focus on the trivial, okay? That's the 80% that's going to generate nothing, right? You focus on the 20% that's going to generate that 80%, which is the revenue generating activity. That is what's going to drive your business. So don't get lost in the small activities, the little things that are there that aren't going to do anything. Ask yourself, is this going to help me to grow my business? Is this going to move my business along? Is this going to actually help me to hit my goals? If it's a no, move on. You do know what you need to do, and you want to focus on that. Because if you do, when your business starts to grow, that's going to open up so many other opportunities for you as well. Alan, anything you want to add on that?
Well, I just think you made some great points, Darren, and this is so important to me and to all of us really in terms of accomplishing your goals. And if I could just emphasize two things that you said that were great, and that is, think about the fact that 20% of what you do results in 80% of your results. 20% of what you do is going to generate 80 grand for you, 80% of that 100,000. And so all things are not equal. That's a little counterintuitive. There are some things that are more impactful. I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about activities. And so there are activities that are the 20% activities that will do that. And as Darren said, don't get caught up in the minutia. Don't get caught up in administrivia. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to take care of that eventually. This is prioritization of your time. First, put the big rocks in the jar. You've got plenty of time for sand and water afterwards. Plenty of time. Don't major in minors.
I like that. That's good. That's good. So let's take this a step further, right? How do we identify that 20% that's going to generate the 80% that we need, right? Anybody recognize this quote? I know it's from The One Thing, but anybody recognize this? Say it's a great way to live your life on a day in and day out basis. Anybody listen to Tim Ferriss in his podcast at all? Because I know he is a big proponent of this. He basically lives his life by this, and he's actually even had Gary Keller on his podcast a couple of times even to talk about this, all right? But really, this is how you should be taking a look at your business, all right? If we start off in the beginning talking about how we can simplify, and really for us in this business, you know, we can actually break that down and say, all right, what is the one thing that I can do right now that's going to propel my business forward, that's going to allow me to grow, allow me to hit those big goals that I set for myself? What are the things that, you know, I can really focus on? A couple of things that right there that are going to help me to get to that next level, right? How are we going to identify the big rocks, the 20% that's in there, okay? And we go back to this, right? What's the first thing that we do when we want to grow our business?
Lead generate.
Right. I'll tell you right now, lead generation solves all your problems. You got a financial problem? Okay, go out and lead generate. You know, your pipeline is a little light, go out and lead generate, right? You wish you had more business, you wish you were busier, you wish this, you wish that, lead generate, lead generate, lead generate. The solution to all of the problems when it comes to this business, all right? And you want to basically take, and this is what I was talking about before about the whole time blocking, why that's essential. When you put together your calendar and your schedule for what you're going to do, that lead generation, especially now for new agents, should be the biggest part, the biggest component of your day. You know, without the lead generation, we don't have the business. Without the business, we don't even come close to our goals. Right? So lead generation is the way to go. Any questions on anything so far?
Hey, Darren, could I just ask, I'd love to hear three, we've covered a ton of material and probably stretched your growth muscle. Could we just have like three ahas? What message did you get today so far that has really resonated with you, that is going to be a key factor for you?
It's not so much of like one specific thing, but when we broke down how many listings we would need to reach our goal, and then like went all the way down to how many appointments we would need, it really made it feel more achievable and something that I could actually do.
Great job, Carlos. That $10 that I told you I was going to send you every week for saying that is on its way. Nice job. Another one.
Being able to put my goals in the command thing, I think will be huge for me because I think it will hold me more accountable because it will be more in my face.
You see it every day.
Okay, one more.
When you just showed us how to do the goals, light went off in my head. It's for me, that would let me focus on the business daily. And, you know, I think we've all used a CRM tool in our past jobs, or some of us still have jobs or whatever. And that's how we use the CRM tool to manage our days. And that to me was just like, wow. Now it's starting to make a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Great job, Chuck. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Good. All right. So has anybody ever heard of a 411? All right. So this is actually one of the best tools that we have here at Keller Williams. All right. And what this allows us to do is really crystallize our goals in our business. And this is something that we can incorporate on the personal level and the professional level if we want to. All right. But what you're going to see here is you're going to see this is a template that's available, that's out there. Ask your market center for a copy of one. If you don't have one, you can create one yourself. But what this allows you to do is really put your goals in front of you and have something that you're going to see on a day in and day out basis. And the way that you actually fill this out is you take a look at that first exhibit that we did, where we had that center with the circle in there, and we had the rectangles on the outside. So we can crystallize our big life, what it is that we want to put together. And that translates into an annual goal number for us, right? We have the annual goal in here in terms of what we want to do with our business. What is it that we want to achieve? What is that big life that we want to leave? And how do we put that number to it, right? So in the very top, we're going to put in, what is our annual goal? Well, for the business, maybe on the personal side, maybe we want to lose weight, maybe we want to exercise, eat healthier, you know, reduce debt, things like that. We can do personal and professional goals in there. And we want to put in what that's going to be. Then we want to take a look at it and say, like, okay, we'll break this down for the monthly goal. We're in the month of May right now. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to fill this out every month. And for the month of May, I'm going to put in there, okay, what does that translate to a monthly goal? All right, we already broke that down in command. We've got our annual business goal. We broke it down into our monthly goal, right? So if we want to do that for the business side, that's great. On the personal side, if it's something that we wanted to do, we could break that down and say, okay, if I wanted to lose, 20 pounds this year, what does that look like on a month-to-month basis? And how am I going to do that, right? Okay. Then we break it down into our weekly goals, and we've already gone over that. And underneath each one of these numbers, okay, touched on it a little bit just now, but what actions are we going to take to get there? It's not enough to have numbers in here, but we want to say, like, okay, if I'm actually going to make, or have 6 conversations a day, 30 conversations a week, what am I going to do that, right? Maybe call my database. Maybe I'm going to call people I don't know, like expired for sale by owners. Maybe I'll do open houses. But I'm going to list 3 to 4 activities this week that are going to be my big rocks that are going to help me propel me to get to that appointment number. Right? I already know I need 2 appointments a week. What am I going to do to get there? What are the actions I'm going to take? Now, on the personal side too, if we wanted to lose weight, I keep using that example. If we want to lose weight, all right, maybe this week I'm going to make my lunch and I'm going to make, prepare it all week. It's going to be salad, whatever it ends up being, right? And then I'm going to go to the gym maybe 2 days a week, whatever it ends up being, okay? But I'm putting in there what the measuring function is, okay? How am I going to measure what I'm doing? And then what are my activities to help me to get there? Because it's really important that we see this day in and day out, because this basically puts together and crystallizes our entire business and even the personal side right in front of us. All right, a lot of people I know fill this out every month and they hang it in front of them on their desk or wherever it is that they are, so they can see their activity. They can see what they need to do. Now, the key to this too is at the beginning of the month, you go in, you fill out your annual goal, your monthly goal, and you fill out week 1. At the end of week 1, you evaluate. Maybe that's Sunday night, Monday morning, you evaluate. Did I reach my goals? Did I get my 2 appointments? Did I lose the 2 pounds or 5 pounds, whatever I was going to? Did I hit that? Okay. If I did, great. You know what I do in week 2? I write in week 2 and I say, okay, I'm going to continue with this because obviously something's working. I've got the feedback. I know it's working. It's going. If it doesn't work, okay, maybe I need to make an adjustment. Maybe I need to adjust the activity. Maybe I need to adjust the frequency of that activity. If I'm doing lead gen for 10 minutes a day, is that going to get me where I want to go? Probably not. If I'm doing 3 hours a day, yeah, absolutely. If my lead gen is sitting here and waiting for my phone to ring, chances are it's probably not the right activity. But if I'm actually going out and I'm prospecting, I'm calling my database, all right? Or I'm putting out my social media posts for the week, things like that, the marketing and the prospecting side of it, okay? I'm going to get results. And I monitor it week to week. So by the end of the month, on week 4, when I'm filling that out, I'm going to see what's worked, what hasn't worked. And then when I fill out next month's 411 and I put that in front of me, I put in my annual goal, my monthly goal, and how close I am to it. I'm looking again at week 1. I'm tweaking, I'm adjusting, I'm changing, or I'm sticking with what I have there because that is my roadmap now. I've got the numbers to measure. I've got the activities that I need to do. I'm getting the feedback on what's working, what's not working. So now here's my plan. Everything is laid out right there for me. Does that make sense?
This is great. And then everybody, if you just look at the chat, I did post the link to the KW Connect where you can get these 411 sheets, a little bit more info. Just know if you've never played in Connect, you do have to log in the same way you log into My KW or Command. And there's a personal, a business, and a combined one. And there's also for those who love Excel or spreadsheets, it's available in Excel as well.
Thanks, bro. It's good. Good resource right there. Absolutely.
Hey, I just want to emphasize something you said, Darren, about the weekly part. First of all, I love your point about we don't make out the 4 weeks. We don't complete the 4 weeks at the beginning of the month because it gives us an opportunity to evaluate what happened the week before. And I just want us also to be realistic. Here, I use the word about the timing. Hey, what date is it today, by the way? What's the date today? Anybody know? Everybody have a calendar?
7th.
It's what?
The 7th
7th of?
May.
It's May 7th. Everybody agree with that? It's May 7th?
Yeah.
Actually, it's August 7th. What do I mean by that?
Our first paycheck, 90 days.
Well, okay,
90 days.
we can think about the paycheck, Brooke. I like what you're talking about. But also, there is a time period that we have to be aware of for the evidence of your activity to show up. And so really our business cycle is a 60 to 90 day evidence period. So what I do today on May 7th is going to show up around July or August 7th. And I bring this up only because I've seen with the agents that I coach, I see this happen all the time. And to Darren's point, you know, we look at week 1 and we say, all right, this is what I did and this is what happened. Is it time for me to tweak? Well, let it work. I don't want you to turn into chasing the silver bullet, right? There's no magic. We've got to let it curdle. This is like making sauce. We got to apply some heat. And the heat is your reliable execution of these activities until such time that you give it a reasonable amount of time to show up. So whatever you do today, be aware that the result of that is going to show up on July to August 7th. And if you don't do anything today for lead generation, we know what's going to show up. However, let's make sure that you give it that curdle time. Make sense?
There you go. Perfect. So with that, put your 411 somewhere you can see it and match it up with why you're in this business, your big life, what you're going to be doing, what you want to achieve. If you take a look at what goes on in a typical day for a lot of high producing agents, Okay, it's not glamorous. You know, there's not a lot of novelty to it. It's very simplistic. It's the same thing over and over. It's repetition. That repetition is what's going to get you your business and allow you to hit your goals. Okay, it's not something that you see on HGTV where it's $1 million listing and they're driving around the fancy cars and the suits and all they do is they show a house and then they sit by the pool. It doesn't happen, right? We have to put in the work. We have to make sure that we've got that 411 in front of us, basically telling us what our activities are. We've got our big why, or we've got the big number that we want next to that in terms of motivating us in terms of why we're doing this. And good things will happen. We do that day in and day out. We get the right habits in place and good things will happen, right? And it's just going to affirm what we want out of our big life, okay? So how about this? Accountable people achieve results others can only dream of, and that's out of the one thing, right? So who's going to hold you accountable? When you put together your goals, when you put together your 411, and you got your activities, right? Is it good enough if we try to hold ourselves accountable? Is that going to work? No, we are the worst person to have as our own accountability partner. All right. So what I recommend, if people have not done this, all right, is to reach out and partner up with somebody in here. Partner up with 2, 3, 4 people. Set up a group chat. Set up a group Zoom, something like that. Check in with each other on a day in, day out basis, right? Check in with a text. Say, hey, did you do your 3 hours of lead gen today? If so, what did you do? Did you get an appointment? Let me know. How many people did you talk to? Find an accountability partner. Look in your own market center. There's plenty of people out there that are looking for that. Have more than one. But when you do that, what that does is that enables you to understand that there are people out there that are going through the same thing that you are, and getting the support from everybody is fantastic. But it also makes sure that you're focusing on your business, right? Last thing that we want to do is check in with our accountability partner and said like, ooh, I just binge watched a whole season of something or other on Netflix.
The Serpent.
Today.
The Serpent.
Yeah. Whatever that may be. I'm not even going to throw out any shows. I'm sure everybody's got their vice out there when it comes to Netflix, right? But do we really want to say that? No, of course not. Do we really want to look at our big life, our big why, and say, well, you know, I'm not anywhere closer to that today. I'm not one day closer to that. No, of course not. But having an accountability partner is really going to keep us focused and keep us going and keep us on the path that we want. Anybody have an accountability partner at all? Oh yeah.
Can I add something real quick for those of our newbies who may not be familiar with the 66-day challenge and some different accountability things that you may be hearing? Don't go for your friends. Find the person you don't know well who's just going to kick your behind. Because if you go with your bestie or someone who loves you unconditionally, they are not always the best accountability partners. So find someone in this group, put out a request on the Facebook group and find someone. Alan has been mine off and on in my career here, other people in the market center who I want to get to know better or who are really good at these things. So don't make it a warm, friendly, like, it's okay, you didn't do it today.
Get out of your comfort zone is what she said. That's the only way you're going to grow. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and the key question there is when we don't hit what we really wanted to do, and we all do it, by the way. I'm going to go to confession and tell you right now. Me too. The benefit of the accountability partner is not, you know, a trip to the woodshed. It's also what can you do different when the same circumstances show up this week? What will you do differently? What options, what other things can you do besides the choices you elected last week when you didn't hit what you wanted to do? That's the key. It's that kind of conversation.
Definitely. All right, I know we just talked about this, but what are you hearing? What's coming across? What sort of ahas do we have right now?
It's just pick up that phone and start making calls. If you want business, you need to go get it. No one's going to bring it to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Find an accountability partner that will pretty much, you know, be on your rear end and not your friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. What else?
You're responsible for yourself.
We're the CEOs of our own corporation, right? We're all independent contractors and it's up to us. We handle many different hats as that responsibility. So, yep, falls on us. Definitely. Good. No, those are good. Those are good. Perfect. All right. So with what you're learning here, and as you're piecing it together, and we're at the end of the first week, okay, you're learning the tools, you're building the foundation of your business, you're learning what it takes to be a successful agent. You know, a lot of this falls on your shoulders too. All right. You can actually take this, forget about it, and then don't do anything. Or you can actually put this to work. You can implement it. You can actually take what's being said here and shown to you and taught to you and actually put it into action. And that's the best way that's going to happen. When you take action and you actually put these things into place, you're going to actually see that the results are going to come much faster than if you're just out there just guessing and trying to do it on your own. So is everybody familiar with the 10-10-10 activities that we have here? What do you think? Do you think that these 4 activities would be a good way to actually help you to propel your business? 10 contacts added? Sure. We're talking about having 5 to 6 conversations, right? A day, real estate conversations. You know, we're meeting people. We've also got people in our sphere of influence, right? And there's 3 places in our sphere of influence that we can get people from, right? Our phone, social media, and any email addresses we have, right? Absolutely. Having 10 conversations a day. Good thing about that is that's practice. Having 10 real estate conversations a day, we're gonna get really good at this pretty quickly, right? 10 handwritten notes. What's so special about handwritten notes?
Personal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, shows you care.
Yeah, absolutely. My grandmother used to write me handwritten notes and it was so great. You get a note like that, it's like, oh, I feel special, you know? A little pat on the head there, right? And how about 10 home previews per week? Going to open houses or maybe setting up an appointment to go see a house, right? What's that going to do for you?
Keeps you updated about the current status of the real estate in your area.
Yeah, definitely, right? You start to learn, okay, what types of houses that are out there, gives you experience. So then that when you go on showings with buyers, you can actually show them what's going on as well too. That's good. All right, perfect. How many people are actually doing this and putting this in place? Anybody? Day in and day out?
I got a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
How many of you are putting it in command and marking those activities? If a bear goes in the woods, right, it's that, how do you know you're doing it? And it's not going to touch your goals, right? So your goals reporting isn't going to match up. So if you're a productivity coach is working with you and they say, well, show me your command and it's empty, how are you proving how hard you're working? And how do you duplicate those efforts in the future? If you know something works, keep doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There you go. See? That's how command ties everything together, right? It's good. Now, how about scripts? Is everybody familiar with the script books that you have for Spark and Elementals? What's important about scripts?
They help you speak with confidence.
Exactly.
They help you control the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Completely. Scripts are the #1 tool that you will have in this business. Hands down. I'll tell you that right now. In our market center, we actually do script practice 12 times a week. We do it twice a day at 8:15 and 9:15, and then we do it twice in the evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 o'clock. All right. So that just tells you how important it is with us. And it won't take you long if you study these scripts and you practice them and you role play and you work with others and you implement that. You'll be able to command conversations, ask those questions, get that information, and improve your conversion ratio when you're talking to folks out there. Scripts are extremely important. Study these, okay? I wouldn't say necessarily memorize them, but understand them in terms of what they're saying. Make them your own. Make it sound genuine. Make it sound like it's coming from you, right? Don't make it sound like it's calling from Tommy Telemarketer, right? You definitely don't want that. But if you understand what they're saying and you're able to understand 1 or 2 objection handlers for each one that's out there, you'll do great. You don't have to learn everything, you know, before you go out. It's a matter of going out and trial and error. You learn the scripts, you go out there, and if you run into a situation you've never been familiar with, okay, talk to somebody. Get the objection handler for it. And then you know what you do? Call that person back and say, you know, I've been thinking about what that question that you asked me, and then go right into it. See how that works for you. That's great. That's really good. But learn the scripts. The scripts is the #1 tool that you have in this business.
You know, Darren, I always say that scripts improves your hearing.
Yes.
Why do you suppose I say that?
That's a great line. That's a great line.
Because,
Forces you to have to listen.
well, yeah, and actually, Brooke, you can listen because now you're listening to listen. You're not listening, worrying about what you're going to say because you've kind of got it down. So scripts improve your hearing ability, and that's a big relationship builder with consumers.
I think that's my hesitancy with making all the cold calls is just not being confident with the scripting. And I feel like if I really study these scripts, my confidence will come, and then, 10 calls will be nothing to me and I want to do 15. But right now, that's like my biggest hurdle, and my limiting belief is getting over that I don't know the answers of what they may say. So I think the scripting is my biggest thing right now.
Yeah. Well, script practice will help you. And also this, I want you to hear this the right way too. And that is, let's not just get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. Part of it is getting in. And the good news is this, if everybody remembered who we were, that would be one thing, but candidly, particularly with people you don't know, I mean, you know who you are, but they don't. And all I'm saying is this, you're going to get better as a result of that. And as Darren said, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, that's a great question. I'm going to look into that and get back to you. Would that be okay?
And just make sure you follow up with them, because then that goes miles.
Right.
You actually do what you said you were going to do. Yeah. You'd be surprised.
What I've found is the Ford script, and not even realize it. Every one of us does this probably daily, and we don't even know it. So when we got this handed out, I think maybe Monday or whatever it was, and I looked at it, and the next day I picked it up. I just had this conversation with my buddy Scott, who I haven't spoken to in 20 years. And I'm like, wow. And so the girl that just said she wasn't comfortable with the scripts, this Ford thing is, you probably do it every day. You didn't even realize it. So it's been very helpful for me.
That's very true. Yeah. The Ford scripts were eye-opening for sure.
Yeah. See how easy it can be? I mean, it's really not that complicated, right? And if you take a look at it, you read it a couple of times, you should be able to grasp things like that. But the best teacher is experience. So to Alan's point, we can sit there and let's role play and script practice for the next 8 months. That's great. Did that get you any business? No. Read it, understand it, and go out there and just do it. That's where it's really going to sink in. And when you implement it, you put it into practice and you make those calls, that right there is going to help you. We had people who they listened to a couple of role play sessions that we've had, and one of them was calling a $2 million FSBO and actually got the appointment. It's like, hey, why don't I give it a shot? What have I got to lose? What are you going to say? No? Sure. They work.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a point to record myself to hear myself speak and play it while I go on my long walks, study it, kind of memorize it. That's how I learned how to pass the exam, actually, by recording myself.
I actually did that the other day too. They taught us to try and, just record it on your phone and listen to it, and you'll find your words that you use a lot that you need to get rid of. So I listened to it after I recorded, and the was in there when I was trying to think through my script, and I'm like, okay, but it's a really helpful tool.
Yep.
Recording.
Absolutely. No, it's good. It's good. And that's the thing too, is that if you have an accountability partner, it's a perfect person to do the script practice with, the role playing and the script practice. One person's a homeowner, the other person's the agent, and then you switch roles. It's the whole point of accountability partner. The more people that you basically script practice and role play with, the better you're going to be, the more experience you have. And then you're going to feel confident to make those calls. So before you make the calls, do about 15 minutes of script practice and role play. Go and make the calls. If you run into hiccups and questions and things like that, Run them by your accountability partner. Or better yet, find somebody in your market center, okay? Maybe a mentor of some sort, somebody who's been in the business for a while, and say, hey, once a week, can I just script practice and role play with you just to see how you do it? And oh, by the way, I ran into this scenario, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me with that? All of that is helpful. This is the one tool that's going to help us to get business, right? And speaking of which, making calls, right? We always want to throw this in here that make sure that you are not calling somebody who is on the do not call list. All right. If you have a personal relationship with these people and you call them and you talk to them, your sphere of influence, yes, then that's fine. That's perfectly okay. But if you're randomly dialing people, okay, then you may be subject to that. Find a service or something that will actually match up those numbers versus the do not call list. Okay, I know RedX and services, things like that, they can actually give you lists on a subscription basis if you want to do that. So when you're reaching out to people you don't know, just make sure that you're not violating that do not call list. Okay. So when we talk about getting appointments, right? Does anybody know how many appointments they need this week, even though we're on Friday? Anybody want to throw out a number? Is it 1, 2, 17? What do we got here? Well, we know it's probably got to be at least one for the majority of us here, right? So now is a perfect opportunity to end the week on a good note, all right? What we'll do is we will actually go out and we'll see if anybody can get an appointment, right? We'll put ourselves on mute. We'll actually make the calls. We'll use the scripts. Now, here's the thing. At this point, this is when about 50% of the people drop off and they'll be like, I don't want to do this. That's great. You don't have to do this, but you also don't have to be in real estate. Plain and simple, right? Those folks that are successful and they're doing it, they're making the calls. They're reaching out to people. It could be texting, social media calls, however it is, but they're putting in the time for the lead generation. And this is a great way to actually develop that habit and put this into practice, put it in your calendar, right? So we're actually going to spend the next, what do we got here? Let's say about the next 45 minutes. All right, we'll have everybody go on mute. Start reaching out, talking to your database, talk to your sphere of influence, talk to those people, use the forward script as Chuck just alluded to, right? Put it out there and see how many appointments we can get. How's that? Did you scare everybody?
Sounds fun.
Sure, there you go. We just lost somebody too.
I know. Everybody's got that little brown bag next to them they're barfing into right now.
Yeah, probably. But hey, listen, the first call is always the most difficult. Every other call after that gets easier and easier. Okay, it's the same with everything else in this business. The first appointment you go on, right? Everything you do, the first one is always the toughest. After that, it just gets easier. Trust me.
You know, I make the correlation, and I'm not going to take up a lot of time, but I make the correlation with calling and lead generating with walking. How many of you, when you were born, do you remember when you were born or when you first started to learn how to walk? How many of you remember that time period? And what happens when you start to first walk? What happens to you? What happens? You start bang your head on the coffee table, you start falling and so forth. And if you stop right then and you say, you know what, I'm not going to be a walker. I'm not going to do it. I don't want the pain. That's a choice. And so here's the choice. Are you going to be a walker? Are you going to be a real estate professional, a real estate, genius, or not? And this is where it all happens.
I'm still waiting to find that kid who just gave up on learning how to walk and they're crawling as an adult, you know?
I've seen some of my friends, sometimes they do end up being the crawlers, but that's another story. Don't.
It explains a lot. It does. It explains a lot.
All right, good. So let's do this. Let's all put ourselves on mute. Let's make some calls. As you get appointments, put them in the chat box. We'll also reconvene around noon and we'll see how everybody made out there. Okay. Sound good? Smile.
Fantastic.
Right.
You guys, if you did not see that, the script book link is in the chat for you guys. We combine both elementals and sparks in there. Don't forget about Ford. Write it down. Put it on a sticky note right in front of you. And then don't forget to use your 10-4. I am hopping out for the remainder of this. Find us on Facebook with any more questions and make good calls,
Thanks, Brooke. Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right. So we'll check in around noon. We'll see how everybody did. But if you get any successes, just put them in the chat box. So how's everybody doing so far? We got a couple of folks in there that said they got appointments, so that's good.
Very good. I'm getting braver by the call.
See, it gets better with every call that you do, right? First one's
does.
always the most difficult, and then it just gets easier and easier. So that's
Yeah, if you
good.
can get that first one out, you can just boom, boom, boom and get more out because the first one just feels rugged.
Now, were you calling your database or are you calling people you didn't know?
I started with my database, but honestly, I've talked to most of my database that I have established, and I've posted so much in social media. I've created a page, so I felt like I needed to go to something else. I went to Mojo, and I went in my area for expireds, and I started calling. I put some of them in the MLS to make sure that they were actually still closed or whatnot, and not active right now, which some of them were actually active. And I called 4 of them, and I got through to, well, I got a voicemail on one, so I just left them a message.
Good. Now, the key thing to all of those, too, for the expireds is following up with them again, too. Making sure you do that. Because
I have a quick, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. About half the agents don't follow up after the second phone call. About 80% don't follow up after about 5 calls. So just make sure you do that.
Is there any other way to find expireds other than Mojo? Is that my best bet?
There's RedX is another one. It's REDX. That's another service that might be good. But yeah, I mean, they're, you know, those 2 are good right there. So
yeah, okay.
Andy, you got a question?
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask about the Mojo dialer. So I've been using that, but we've with my team. So we've been just basically pulling lists for people to cold call that have like 20% equity in their homes, but I didn't know that there's a way to pull expired through Mojo.
That might be.
I mean, Brooke, can you tell me how you did that? Because I'm just trying to figure out how to get that list.
Yep. When I'm logged into my coach's Mojo, I think we all use her, or I'm in Mojo, and it's data and dialer. And then on the left-hand side, there's like 3 columns. On the left-hand side, it shows like expired, for sale by owner. There's a bunch of things. So you can do so much in Mojo, but it should be right on that left-hand side. You'll see all the titles, and then it will populate all the lists and the names and the numbers, and you can organize it by towns that you're really focusing in.
Got it. Okay, I got to get better with Mojo for sure.
It's a really good tool.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. All right. What else? What other, anybody have any breakthroughs or ahas or good things that happened here in the last 45 minutes here? Anything you want to share? Any conversations maybe too?
I just did a wellness check. We have, I mean, I have lupus and it's Lupus Awareness Month, and the person I called, I know she has lupus, and then she lives on the street from me, owns 2 properties here in the same, like literally almost on the same road. And she's in Florida celebrating her daughter's birthday. And then she just told me like, hey, like, I know you're doing real estate now, and I think I want to sell my first house that I just bought down the street, as I think I want to move to Florida.
Oh, okay, sure.
So, okay. And then that's how I got my appointment to talk to her on Wednesday.
That's really how it happens. You know, that's exactly how it happens. You won't know until you ask, right? Until you have these conversations with them.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people would be like, oh, I'm not calling this person because they're not going to do anything. Then you call them up and you get 2 listings and a buyer out of them or something like that. So yeah, that happens. That's good. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is Grace.
Hi,
So I
Grace.
made 3 calls. 2 I have left a message, and 1 I connected, and I'm gonna meet her for coffee,
Good.
you know, sometime next week. She's gonna call me and look at her calendar.
Terrific. Very good. Excellent. Great job. Very good. That's all it takes, right? Just having the conversations with them. That's all. You just ask. And if you're talking to somebody and you feel the time is right, just ask for the appointment. That's the thing that we generally don't do, is we don't ask for things. We don't ask for the appointment. You know, if we develop that rapport with them, sure, why not? Why wouldn't they meet with us, right?
It's still very nerve-wracking contacting people and
It
doing
is.
those calls and just kind of like, hey, by the way, I'm in real estate, but so the word's getting out, and I am making a lot of contacts just like because I'm a walker. So by walking in the neighborhood
Mhm.
and I talk to everyone, so I'm putting the word out there. So are those considered contacts?
Yes,
So I should
absolutely.
write them down, get their information and follow up with them?
Yep, get them into command, and then you put them on a smart plan, and you'll be able to follow up with them on a regular basis. So absolutely, anybody that you talk to, anybody that you know should be in command. Absolutely.
So I should automatically ask for all their information when I'm talking to them. Right now, I know most of the people by first names.
Hmm.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Good for you. Excellent. See, these are the things that happen. If you go out there and you just do it, you're going to find that, I mean, it's really not that difficult. It's actually fairly easy.
I almost find it easier face-to-face than the phone.
That's fine too. There's really 6 ways to reach out and have conversations with people, right? Maybe 5 ways, possibly 6 ways, but what are they? Number 1, we got face-to-face, right? Which will, eventually get back to doing that full time. Then we've got calling, we've got texting, we've got social media, we've got email, okay? And then we also have old school mail if we want to do that, handwritten notes going back and forth. But those are the ways that we actually reach out to people, right?
Okay.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
So we've got some good things that are happening here. So this is excellent. This is really good.
So I I made some calls to people that were in my database. These people were referred to me by other friends as prospective buyers. I didn't get any of them live, so I left them voicemails, 6 of them, inviting them to see if they want to go to an open house tomorrow. They happen to be in the areas the towns that they want to look in by coincidence. So I was going through my email, looking at the invites for the open houses for the weekend. And that's how I says, all right, perfect. Because so I left 6 calls, 6 voicemails.
Yeah.
And I called my college roommate to let him know that I was a real estate agent now. So I told him I call him after this class to catch up with him.
Good. Nice job, Chuck. That's good. That's excellent. Well done. Good idea too. Good idea. Open houses in the same towns where they are. That's perfect. Absolutely. Well done. Good. Alan, anything that you want to add at all, or?
Well, I would just make this suggestion, and that is when you're making contacts with people, the key thing that I try to emphasize is the power of questions. See, a lot of times we feel like we've got to have the answers when we go into these conversations, and really what the important thing is to have the questions. And you guys know, you know this, some of you brought it up in terms of asking about them, and Chuck brought up the whole Ford outline. And so really our calls can be about them. I mean, people will talk about their favorite topic a long time. And what's their favorite topic? Them. So let's ask about them. How are you? As we start to move out of this thing called pandemia, how are things going for you? I'm just calling to check and see how you're doing, you and your family. That's the F. What's going on with you at work? Are you going in the office, or are you working from home still? How is that going? That's the O. And we move into R, into the recreation. Gosh, I can't wait. At least golf season, maybe we'll be able to be outside and walk around a little bit. You get the idea, right? So it's not statements, it's questions. What's cooking with you? That's what I'm interested in. And they'll talk your ear off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open-ended questions are the best.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds like we've actually had some really good luck here. It sounds like some people are getting more comfortable with it. It sounds like people are actually taking that next step, and they're actually moving ahead with their script. So that's terrific. That is good. So I would say work on this weekend. Have those conversations. Talk to people. Reach out to them by phone. If you see them in person when you're walking, like Grace was doing, things like that, or Chuck reaching out to people that you know in the area, leaving voicemail messages, offering to, go to open houses with them, anything like that. You have those conversations. That's how you're going to build your database, and that's how you're going to build your presence in real estate. Okay.
And just to follow up on that, Darren, could I just suggest to you that, open up your calendars right now and find those 2 hours. What is that time, and put it in for next week. See, you're here today because you had it on your calendar. And if it's not on your calendar, then it just doesn't exist. So let's put that time, that business development. If you don't like the LG word, lead generation, then put in business development. And put in business growth and block that time. And now Monday morning, all you have to do is follow your calendar, and you've put the big rock in the jar. See that hand motion that goes along with that? You've put the big rock in the jar. That's the key thing. Put it in your calendar.
Very good. Good. All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. Thanks for spending time with us. Alan, thank you for your help today. Appreciate that as well.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And by the way, did they get a chance to give us feedback on these sessions?
Yeah, I think there is actually something on the back of the participant guide where they can actually go in
Beautiful.
and complete a survey, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. So make sure you give us some feedback about what you got out or what you want more of. And if you've got, if you got some things to say that are feedback that we need to improve on, make sure you tell them that Darren was your instructor. And if you loved everything, make sure you tell them that was Alan.
Thank you.
Great point. I
Great
think that's
session.
good.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Enjoy your weekend. Thanks,
Darren,
Alan.
thank
Take
you.
care.
Yeah. Thanks. Nice working with you. Thank you.
Nice working with you too. Bye-bye.
See you.